The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the News 4 Rundown. It's June 1st, and I'm Un Yang. Here's what's coming up tonight. Standing their ground tonight, the Clark County Sheriff has joined other sheriff's departments in Virginia, saying they will not enforce an upcoming ban on assault weapons. Plus, as oil prices continue to rise, industry experts now predict you could be paying 40% more for your next oil change. And we're giving you an exclusive look into one of the most notorious and infamous laboratories in our nation, right here in our backyard, how St. Elizabeth's is coming back alive. But first tonight, we're hearing more from family members grieving the loss of loved ones killed in that terrible bus crash on I-95. 5 people were killed Friday after a speeding bus crashed into multiple cars. News 4 has learned the bus driver was due in a Maryland courtroom this week to face a speeding charge. Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey has the latest developments.
The bus driver, Jing Dong, now faces 5 counts of felony involuntary manslaughter. He was charged with 2 counts over the weekend, but today a Stafford County grand jury indicted him on 3 more counts. So now there is 1 involuntary manslaughter charge for each one of the 5 people killed. He also faces 1 misdemeanor charge of reckless driving. Now, Jing Dong has not appeared in court yet. That is because he is hospitalized being treated for his injuries. We're also now hearing from the family of one of the victims. Priscilla Ramos Mafalda, the young Massachusetts woman, was killed when the car she was in was struck by the bus. Her husband survived that crash, but he is in the hospital now in grave condition. Tributes from grieving friends and family describe 25-year-old Priscilla Ramos Mafalda as a bright light in the world. She and her husband were in an SUV that was struck by the bus when investigators say it failed to slow for a work zone and began smashing into cars early Friday morning on I-95 in Stafford. Priscilla's cousin sent a statement to News 4, reading in part, "Today we say goodbye to someone very special, but we will never say goodbye to the memories and love she left in our hearts. Priscilla was a light in the lives of many people. With her beautiful smile and contagious joy, she had the gift of turning simple moments into unforgettable memories." And her former employer writes, "Priscilla was a young woman with so many dreams and plans for her future. She was sweet, kind, hardworking, and had a heart bigger than words can describe." Over the weekend, News 4's Jessica Albert spoke with relatives of the Donchev family. The couple and their children, just 14 and 7 years old, were killed when their car was struck and then caught fire.
They were the most generous, the most kind-hearted people, always ready to give a hand, no matter how much it inconvenienced them.
The Donchevs are also from Massachusetts. Relatives of both families have created online fundraisers to help return their loved ones home and pay for funeral expenses. An NTSB team remains in Stafford conducting their investigation. Among the factors they're analyzing, the speed the bus was driving at the time of impact.
It appears clearly a high rate of speed, but the precise speed, we've not been able to determine that yet.
And News 4 has learned that the bus driver, Jing Dong, was due in court in Anne Arundel County tomorrow to face trial. Maryland State Police confirm he was pulled over and ticketed in March driving a coach bus and charged with going 72 in a 50-mile-per-hour zone. State police say there were passengers on the bus at the time. I've contacted the North Carolina company E&P Travel that owns that bus both Friday and today, seeking a statement from them, but I've not heard back. Again, the bus driver, Jing Dong, he remains hospitalized. Once he's medically cleared, he'll be transported to Rappahannock Regional Jail, and then he will make his first court appearance via closed-circuit TV. In Fredericksburg, Virginia, I'm Julie Carey, News 4.
Here are 4 things to know tonight. The Justice Department says it will abide by a court ruling that blocked President Trump's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. There's been bipartisan backlash about the plan, which would have benefited allies of the president who claim to be victims of lawfare and weaponization. After a nationwide search for a new superintendent of schools in Prince George's County, today we learned the top candidate was already in place, serving as the interim. County Executive Aisha Braveboy named Dr. Sean Joseph as the person she wants to lead the school system into the future. Joseph has worked as school superintendent in Delaware and Tennessee. He was also a principal and teacher in Montgomery County Public Schools. In Virginia, the Clark County Sheriff and Commonwealth's attorney have become the latest to say they will not enforce the upcoming assault weapons ban. They say nonviolent offenders should not be subjected to the ban. Come July 1st, the sale and manufacture of certain semi-automatic weapons will be banned in Virginia. Today, Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich signed bills aimed at supporting immigrant families in Montgomery County. The County Values Act sets rules for how county agencies respond when federal immigration officers come to county facilities. The Unmasked ICE Act would ban immigration agents from wearing masks while on duty. The ICE Out Act would block permits for privately owned detention centers. A memorial service to honor the 67 lives lost when an American Airlines jet collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter last year was held earlier this evening. Family, loved ones, first responders, and lawmakers are gathered at Rivergate City Park in Alexandria, not far from the crash site. In addition to the service, some new memorials are now on display permanently. Alexandria's fire captain shared some words of comfort with families today before a moment of silence.
I invite you to use this time to honor the lives of those we've lost, to hold their families in your hearts, and to dedicate this park as a lasting sanctuary.
News 4 transportation reporter Adam Tusk brings us the latest from the ceremony in Alexandria.
Yeah, a very somber tone here in Alexandria. Obviously very emotional with this memorial service going on here. We've seen family members showing up, placing flowers here and really just paying their respects more than a year after this tragedy. I do want to show you the plaque that has shown up here along the banks of the Potomac in Alexandria. And then there's a bench where people have been placing their flowers, as we've been talking about, putting pictures down, and all of this looks right out at the Potomac. As an American Eagle jet comes in for a landing at Reagan National Airport, a new plaque along the banks of the Potomac honors those that never made it to the runway on January 29th, 2025. The plaque reading in part, "Their lives filled with promise, purpose, and love were taken too soon, leaving families, friends, and communities forever changed." Flowers from family members placed below the plaque. A bench reading, "May the 67 lives lost over these waters on January 29th, 2025 be forever remembered." It provides a peaceful place to sit and contemplate.
I had company coming the very next night, so I was sort of tuned into the events at the airport that night.
Rich Ekman lives here in Alexandria and thinks back to that night often.
I do. I'm on the river quite a bit, so I see the air traffic. That airport is busy.
Phil Galvin also has lived here for years and is glad those who are now gone are not forgotten.
Well, I think it's, such a terrible thing. I think it is good that we remember it. It was really quite a tragedy that happened.
This memorial is along the northeastern portion of Rivergate City Park. It was designed with the help of the families and loved ones who lost so much that night. And back here now, as you're taking a look at this memorial service, this huge turnout here at this park in Alexandria. So many of the family members, of the loved ones, saying that one thing that this tragedy did, that this crash did, is bring everybody together. In Alexandria, Adam Tuss, News 4, back to you.
President Trump says peace talks continue with Iran even after a weekend of airstrikes between the U.S. and Tehran. Right now, the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked as oil tankers are unable to pass through the critical waterway. That continues to drive up the price of oil and gas. Tonight, the Baltimore Banner reports the war could lead to a shortage of motor oil, and that means your next oil change could cost as much as 40% more. To break down the looming economic warning, Nate Shenenko joins us now. He tracks the auto industry. Nate, thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Nate, you spoke with the Baltimore Banner about what we're seeing with oil prices. A lot of consumers are already seeing sticker shock when they go get their oil change. Paint the current landscape for us now.
You nailed it with the intro. And the current landscape is there's simply not enough motor oil. So you could look at the oil and where it comes from, and about 10% of the motor oil comes from the Middle East through the Strait. 10%, it's not so bad. The problem is 44% of the base stock for synthetic motor oil that goes into most cars that most Americans drive comes from the same place. And we don't have enough of it here. We can't import enough of it right now. So we expect to see shortages of motor oil, which will, of course, drive the prices up.
So in addition to the higher gas prices that people have noticing at the pump, you say drivers are about to notice some higher prices when they go to the mechanic, including oil change. What should consumers expect as they go into summer?
I'll break this down in two pieces. We just released a report on the cost of servicing your car, and the cost of servicing your car goes up by about 8% a year. And those who know your inflation statistics know that that's much higher than the rate of inflation across the rest of the economy. So there's broad price increases across the whole service industry. Regarding oil specifically, when there's a shortage of the product, then the prices will rise to keep up with it. And it's pretty hard to defer an oil change. You can't really put it off for too long. So people will end up paying more money for those oil changes, just like they are for the rest of the service on their cars.
Yeah, you can't put off that oil change, especially when families want to travel and hit the road for the summer. What is your advice for drivers who are going to be traveling and taking their families on trips this summer?
The summer road trip is the catalyst here. People are used to leaving on Friday afternoon. They wake up on Friday morning. They realize, oh, that sticker on my window says I need an oil change pretty soon. They go to the oil change place that morning and they're good to go. That's not going to work for you this summer. You should plan ahead just by a few days. There's not going to be a widespread outage where there's no motor oil in the country, but it may not be where you want it to be when you want it to be there, like you have been used to. So the first thing is to plan ahead for shortages. The second thing is expect to pay a little bit more. If you've been paying $85, $90, $100 for an oil change, you will be paying more than that in the future. So to summarize, shortage of oil means plan ahead. Also plan ahead for higher prices.
Are you anticipating any kind of relief? And what are you watching for as this Iran war wears on?
The Strait of Hormuz has to open up before enough oil will start flowing back into this market to replenish us from shortage conditions. One of the biggest challenges is that these Group 3 base oils, they mostly come from the Middle East. They have the best oil that makes this synthetic motor oil. So we can't just retool our refineries and our production lines to make this stuff here. We have to import it. And if it doesn't start flowing, we're not really going to see relief until that does happen. And a trickle of ships, one every few days, depending on the day, is not enough to replenish us.
All right, Nate Chinenko, thanks so much for joining us with your insight and the important information.
Thank you very much.
And still to come tonight on the News 4 Rundown, the Pride flag is flying high tonight in downtown D.C. Plus, what will future Americans think of our nation today? The time capsule being buried ahead of our 250th independence celebration. And then an exclusive look inside the first federally operated psychiatric hospital in the United States. We take you to Southeast D.C. and the new lease on life of St. Elizabeth's Hospital.
And it was a beautiful day across the area today, and it's still going to be nice the next couple of days, but by the end of the week, the heat starts to build. We'll talk about just how warm things are going to get. 10-day forecast coming up.
NBC4 is excited to announce we will be hosting a forum with the top 2 candidates in the D.C. mayoral race this Thursday, June 4th. News 4's Mark Seagraves will host a conversation between Janice Lewis-George and Kenya McDuffie. NBC4 selected participants based on publicly available polling. That forum will be live on the NBC Washington YouTube page and the NBC4 streaming channel this Thursday at 1 o'clock. It will re-air on our streaming channel again at 8 p.m. Please join us for what should be a lively and informative conversation. Well, it is one of the most historic and infamous landmarks in D.C., and it's been abandoned and closed to the public for decades. Once known as the Government Hospital for the Insane, it's where tens of thousands of patients were treated for the more than 150 years it was open. It is also where one doctor did much of his research that would lead him to promoting the use of lobotomies to cure mental illness. News 4's Mark Seagraves was able to get exclusive access to some of the buildings on the campus of St. Elizabeth's, including the famed autopsy theater.
Here on the East Campus of St. Elizabeth's, dozens of still empty historic buildings stand waiting for their turn to be rehabilitated and repurposed. Just steps from the Care First Arena and the portion of the campus that has already seen revitalization. Block after block of once majestic buildings where time has stood still. Our first stop, Building P. We're greeted by a crumbling facade with windows boarded up and shattered. With my first step inside, I realize I've stepped back in time. Flashlights lead the way through the darkened and forgotten hallways where once doctors, nurses, and patients bustled. Stairwells littered with decades of neglect. Abandoned hallways lined with rusted caged doorways. At times it felt like I was a ghost walking the darkened hallways, passing the rooms where years ago patients lived and died. Sunlight now breaks through the ceiling. Through this door, one of the many sprawling screened atriums originally designed for patients to relax, doctors believing fresh air could cure some mental illness. But in times of overcrowding, these atriums became filled with patients' beds. The rooms and halls still clinging to the original pastel blues and yellows that once adorned the interior. Bathroom stalls still in place with more of the pastel colors. Our next stop, the infamous Blackburn Laboratory. Even the exterior has an eerie feel of solitude and forebode. For the Blackburn building, we had to suit up. Our first stop, the lecture room. Then it was down the hall to the chemistry room, where time and vandals have taken their toll. Then up through a narrow makeshift staircase to the attic.
You can stay on the center.
And then down another deserted hallway where the solid wood doors break the din of silence. Room after room offering a glimpse into the building's past. But it was our last stop, in the basement, the infamous autopsy theater, where Dr. Walter Freeman performed thousands of autopsies and developed his theories that would lead to the proliferation of lobotomies across the country. The once state-of-the-art operating room, now a canvas for trespassers' graffiti. This rustic file cabinet littered with slides, likely from brain cells, each from a patient who once lived and died here at St. Elizabeth's. Years of scientific research, now scattered across the floor.
Yeah, I had chills just thinking about coming into this room, but once we got in here, it's just hard to describe. But this is the refrigerator here in the morgue where they kept the bodies. Still functional, still intact. The place that this room holds in our nation's history, particularly when we talk about mental health.
Fascinating. Mark Seagraves will have part 2 of the tour of St. Elizabeth's Hospital. He will speak with developers about plans to turn the facility into a whole new community. This is the kind of weather we wait for all year. Beautiful weekend, a gorgeous day today. Warm, but not too humid, Doug.
Yeah, and we hope it comes with a couple of days in a row, right? So we had a great weekend. Both Saturday and Sunday were great. Today was amazing.
Yes.
Tomorrow is going to be nice, and then I think Wednesday is going to be the pick of the week. We're talking some really nice weather moving in. Out there today, we saw sunshine earlier. Now we're seeing more cloud cover across the area. High temperatures today got up to 80 degrees. Right now, coming in at 76. a little bit of an easterly wind here. We've seen the winds out of the north-northeast during the day today, keeping things on the cooler side. I'll say cooler. Average high is 81, so we hit 80, so we're right there around average. But now we're seeing temperatures into the low 70s. 73 Gaithersburg, 72 Frederick, Annapolis coming in at 71. Right now, Culpeper coming in at 74. Look at Newmarket, though, already down to 68. It will be a cooler night tonight, and we'll be watching out for that. Now, spring, you look at spring and you go, well, what was that like? Well, one of the warmest springs on record. And by spring, we're talking meteorological spring, so March, April, and May. Now, one of the reasons why it was so warm, because of March and April. May was actually below average. Remember this, we hit a couple of 90-degree days in April. That was about a month early. March also very warm. Now, improvements with our drought. Over the last 2 weeks, we've definitely seen some improvement. That's been good news, but now I think we're going to go back the other way because we are high and dry, and we're going to stay that way all week. If we have great weather, well, that means that we're not going to see much in the way of rainfall. Tracking our moisture, making its way in at two different levels here. The low levels, take a look. The low level clouds moving from north to south. The upper level clouds moving from northwest to southeast. Now, both of those directions are cooling air, and that means for us, we are going to see temperatures actually drop a little bit by early tomorrow during the afternoon. We'll see temperatures about 5 degrees cooler than they were today. Starting off on a cool note early in the morning, but a very nice start to the day. No issues with it. As we move on through the afternoon, we'll see a few clouds, a lot of sunshine, though. Temperatures into the mid-70s. So today we got into the upper 70s to low 80s. Tomorrow, I'm thinking about 5 degrees cooler as we see this cooler air work its way on in. Speaking of that, look where we are by Wednesday morning. Here, 6 a.m., upper 40s in some of the areas, well to the north and west, but the sun comes up, and boy, do things warm very quickly. Look at Wednesday. I told you the pick of the day, not a cloud in the sky for the most part, and high temperatures, upper 70s to low 80s. I'm going 82 for a high. That is going to be a gorgeous day out there on Wednesday. Thursday still looking good, but warmer, 88 degrees. We'll see a return flow, meaning southerly wind. That'll put temperatures into the 90s by Friday and Saturday. Saturday going for a high of 93. We'll see a little bit more humid conditions and a chance of storms coming up on Sunday. Into the day on Monday, temperatures back into the low 80s, but that's the only rain chances we've got into early next week.
Pride Month officially kicked off today in the district. Mayor Muriel Bowser joined city leaders and community members to raise the LGBTQIA+ flag at the Wilson Building. This marks the 20th anniversary of the mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs with Legacy Awards to recognize leaders who've helped advance equality and inclusion in D.C. After the ceremony, the mayor's office hosted a reception with music, giveaways, and merchandise from LGBTQ+ entrepreneurs. And the celebrations are just getting started. Capitol Pride gets underway this weekend with the theme Exist, Resist, Have the Audacity. Organizers say the message reflects the challenges facing the LGBTQ+ community amid efforts to roll back diversity and inclusion initiatives. The festival kicks off on Sunday with the Audacity Brunch in full fuchsia at the Four Seasons. The Pride Parade steps off on June 20th, followed by the festival and concert on June 21st. In 250 years, Americans will get a chance to look back at who we were as a nation in 2026. A time capsule buried 10 feet underground in Philadelphia will give them that glimpse. It is engineered to keep water out and withstand other weather events, to keep precious items, including coins, artwork, and letters from every state and territory, plus items from every branch of government, safe for the next 250 years. This was made possible by the National Institutes of Standards and Technology.
NIST has never made a time capsule like this before. I don't think anyone's made a time capsule like this, but our abilities in historical competence in preserving items is really what made us stand out, made us the natural people to do this.
It will be officially buried on July 4th at Independence National Historic Park in Philadelphia. And that's going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Monday night. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to join us tonight for News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Eun Yang. Have a great night, everyone.